Ever wondered what happened to the beloved cast of Leave It to Beaver? The iconic faces that once graced our screens with warmth and laughter have encountered unexpected twists in their lives. Some faced heartbreaking accidents, others battled unforeseen hardships, and the paths they took might surprise you. From fame to life-altering events, their journeys have been shaped by moments both uplifting and tragic. In 2025, where are they now? What challenges have they overcome? Join us as we uncover the untold stories of these cherished actors and the remarkable turns their lives have taken. You won't want to miss this. Jerry Mathers, who portrayed Theodore Beaver Cleaver in Leave It to Beaver, was 9 years old when he began his role as the curious and mischievous younger brother. While the series brought him enduring fame, adulthood brought a series of hardships. Mathers married 3 times. His first 2 marriages, to Diane Gilman and then Teresa Monick, ended in divorce, strained by his retreat into privacy and struggles with type 2 diabetes. He had 2 children, Jason and Caroline, who remained distant from him in later years, citing emotional neglect. Mathers' post-acting career faltered after failed business ventures and an unsuccessful talk radio stint. He battled depression through his 40s and filed for bankruptcy in 1993. He now lives quietly in Palm Desert, rarely making public appearances. Though largely reclusive, he occasionally appears at nostalgic conventions. Now 76, he survives on modest royalties and a small pension. His estate is estimated to be $450,000, significantly diminished by poor financial management, and several medical bills accrued after multiple hospitalizations in his 60s. Tony Dow, who portrayed Wally Cleaver, Beaver's kind and responsible older brother, was just 12 when the show premiered. Dow's character embodied the ideal 1950s teen, but real life offered little such stability. Behind his camera-ready smile was a man plagued by clinical depression and artistic frustration. Dow pursued sculpting after acting but found little commercial success. His marriage to Carol Marlowe lasted until 1980. They had 1 son, Christopher, but their strained relationship deteriorated as Dow's mood swings worsened. He remarried in 1980, but the union with Lauren Shulkin was rocky, marred by financial disputes and emotional withdrawal. After being diagnosed with liver cancer in 2021, his final months were spent in confusion after premature reports of his death circulated online. He passed away on July 27, 2022, at 77. Dow was remembered fondly, but the quiet loneliness of his final years stood in contrast to his boy-next-door image. His estate was valued at approximately $900,000 at the time of his death. Jerry Weil, who played Judy Hensler, the classmate who constantly tattled on Beaver and relished annoying him, was 11 when the show began. Judy's character was sharp-tongued and smug, a mirror of the anxiety Jerry would later say she internalized as a child star. After leaving the show, she disappeared from acting and struggled to adjust to civilian life. While married at 22 to a film editor, Tom Branson, but the marriage ended after 8 years. They had no children. Isolated and reclusive, she lived alone in Sacramento and later revealed in interviews that she suffered from agoraphobia and long bouts of depression. A brief return to the spotlight in the 1980s ended in disappointment. She attempted suicide in 1983 but survived, later devoting time to mental health advocacy. At 79, while remains unmarried, childless, and mostly estranged from her extended family, she lives in a small apartment and rarely grants interviews. Her estate is currently estimated at $300,000, built from modest pensions and low-key investments in early tech stocks. Sue Randall, best remembered as the gentle and patient Miss Alice Landers, Beaver's teacher on Leave It to Beaver, was 23 when she began the role. Though her on-screen persona exuded calm and kindness, Randall's personal life was marked by illness and frustration. She married advertising executive Jack Carson in 1960 and had 2 children, David and Elizabeth, but the marriage was marred by alcoholism and emotional abuse, leading to a divorce in 1973. Her acting career ended abruptly in 1967 when she was diagnosed with early-stage cervical cancer. Despite initial recovery, she retreated from public life, working briefly as a librarian in Pennsylvania. She remained close to her children but lived modestly and quietly, battling recurring health issues and depression. She died on October 26, 1984, at the age of 49, from lung cancer, despite having quit smoking a decade earlier. Sue Randall's estate was modest, valued at around $150,000, with much of it going to her children. Her legacy lives on in reruns, but she remains a cautionary tale of Hollywood's fleeting embrace. Tiger Fafara, who portrayed Tui Brown in Leave It to Beaver, was just 12 when he brought to life Wally's mischievous and cheerful best friend. Though beloved for his youthful charm, Fafara's post-show life took a difficult turn. After fading from Hollywood by his late teens, he struggled to find purpose. He married his high school sweetheart, Lillian Myers, but the marriage dissolved within 5 years, weighed down by financial hardship and Fafara's growing dependence on alcohol. He remarried in 1978 to waitress Donna Keene, with whom he had 2 children, Rachel and Tommy, though estranged from both. Attempts at real estate ventures failed, and he declared bankruptcy in 1993. His later years were marked by isolation and regret, occasionally attending nostalgia conventions to make ends meet. Now 80, he lives alone in a modest apartment in Modesto, California, surviving on Social Security and minor residuals. He often speaks to no one for weeks. Once a shining face of 1950s television, Tiger Fafara's net worth is estimated at just $30,000, with no plans for a memoir, claiming, "There's not much anyone would want to read." Hugh Beaumont, who played the iconic Ward Cleaver in Leave It to Beaver, was 48 when he took on the role of the firm yet gentle patriarch. His performance became synonymous with the ideal American father, but behind the screen, Beaumont's life unraveled in silence. His marriage to Catherine Adams, a fellow actor, began in harmony but eroded due to his chronic depression and resentment toward being typecast. They had 3 children, Hunter, Lee, and Mark, but Beaumont's distance and erratic temper led to a strained home life. After the series ended, his acting roles diminished, pushing him toward directing low-budget Christian films and struggling financially. A car accident in 1972 left him with chronic pain, deepening his withdrawal from public life. He moved to Minnesota for solitude, but rarely saw his children. Beaumont died on May 14, 1982, at age 73 from a heart attack. His estate, comprised mostly of a modest home and residual checks, was valued at around $250,000. Though revered on screen, his real life was filled with quiet sorrow and unspoken regrets. Barbara Billingsley, who portrayed June Cleaver, the ever-graceful mother of Wally and Beaver, was 35 when the show began. Her elegant poise and pearl necklaces made her a television icon, but off-camera, her life was far more turbulent. Married 3 times, her second husband, Roy Calino, died suddenly of a heart attack in 1956, and her third marriage to Dr. William Mortensen was riddled with emotional distance and quiet separations. She had 2 sons, Glenn and Drew, who often resented her absences and the public's idealized view of her. Though she returned briefly to acting in the 1980s, Billingsley struggled with loneliness and private health battles, including a long fight with rheumatoid arthritis. Her Hollywood friendships faded over time, and she lived her final years in a Santa Monica condo with a full-time caregiver. She passed away on October 16, 2010, at age 94 due to polymyalgia. Her estate was valued at approximately $3 million, most of it placed in trusts for her grandchildren. Despite her sunny screen presence, her twilight years were somber, marked by isolation and loss. Ken Osmond, who played Eddie Haskell, the insincere, troublemaking sidekick, was 14 when Leave It to Beaver launched him into fame. Known for his slick compliments and underhanded antics, Osmond had trouble shaking the character. Typecasting ruined his career, roles dried up, and he joined the LAPD in the 1970s. In 1980, he was shot during a pursuit, an event that left him with PTSD and forced early retirement. Married to Sandra Purdy, they had 2 sons, Christian and Eric, but his mental trauma created distance in the family. He rarely spoke to his youngest for over a decade. Financial instability plagued him, leading to a failed lawsuit against the Screen Actors Guild over residuals. He returned for reunion specials, but behind the smiles, he battled severe depression and survivor's guilt. His last years were spent in poor health, dependent on oxygen, and withdrawn. Osmond died on May 18, 2020, at age 76 from complications of COPD. His estate, including his home and modest savings, was estimated at $500,000. Revered by fans but broken by life, he died quietly, far from the spotlight that once blinded him. Stanley Fafara, who portrayed Whitey Whitney on Leave It to Beaver, was only 8 years old when he began charming audiences as one of Beaver's mischievous and loyal friends. Whitey's grin and giggle were staples of the show's early seasons. However, Fafara's life after the show was steeped in tragedy. Unable to escape the shadow of his early fame, he drifted into Los Angeles's drug culture in the 1970s. He married a woman named Linda Morales in 1982, and they had 2 daughters, Rachel and Janelle, but the marriage was unstable and marked by violence and addiction. After several arrests, Stanley became estranged from his children, who were raised by Linda's family. He spent years in and out of halfway houses and at one point was homeless on the streets of Portland. Though he briefly found sobriety in the late 1990s, health issues from years of substance abuse took a toll. He died from complications of diabetes and hepatitis on September 20, 2003, at the age of 54. By then, he had no permanent residence and few possessions. His estate was estimated at less than $5,000, mostly consisting of a few personal effects and modest royalties from Leave It to Beaver reruns. Stephen Talbot, who played Gilbert Bates, made his first appearance at age 10 in 1959, portraying Beaver's sly and scheming best friend. Gilbert frequently led Beaver astray, always with a smirk and a plan. After leaving acting, Talbot distanced himself from Hollywood and reinvented himself as a journalist. Though outwardly successful with award-winning documentaries, his personal life told a darker story. Married in 1974 to editor Carolyn Dennis, their intellectual bond eventually frayed under the pressure of Talbot's obsession with exposing government corruption. They divorced in 1991, after raising 2 children, David and Elena, both of whom became estranged from their father. Talbot struggled privately with depression and was hospitalized multiple times in the early 2000s. Though still alive at 76, he lives alone in Berkeley, spending his days writing unpublished memoirs and rarely leaving his home. Once admired for his insight, he now lives in relative obscurity. His estate is estimated at $1.1 million, primarily from residuals and investments made during his brief television resurgence in the 1990s. Richard Correll, who joined Leave It to Beaver at age 12 as the brainy and good-natured Richard Rickover, brought a grounded presence to the later seasons of the show. He was a dependable companion for Beaver, always quick with a fact or a cautious word. After acting, Correll pursued a career behind the camera and found early success directing sitcoms like Family Matters. He married actress Catherine Wyatt in 1985, and they had 3 children, Lucas, Emma, and Nathan. But Correll's demanding work schedule led to frequent absences, and the couple divorced in 2002 after years of quiet tension. 2 of his children became involved in cults, deepening Correll's personal sorrow. A lawsuit over creative rights on one of his shows left him disillusioned with Hollywood. Now 76, he lives in semi-retirement in Palm Springs, giving occasional lectures at film schools. Despite the setbacks, Correll managed his finances carefully. His estate is estimated at $3.7 million, although he has reportedly grown increasingly reclusive and rarely speaks to former castmates or his children. Richard Deacon, who was 35 when Leave It to Beaver premiered, played Fred Rutherford, the smug, suit-clad father of Clarence, "Lumpy," Rutherford. Deacon's portrayal of a proud, overbearing businessman was a comic highlight of the show. Off-screen, Deacon was a deeply private man who struggled with his sexuality in a time when Hollywood was unforgiving. Never married, he lived a solitary life, often masking his personal pain behind humor and food, later becoming a cookbook author in a failed attempt to reinvent himself. Though beloved by fans, he felt typecast after Leave It to Beaver, unable to secure more serious roles. He battled with severe loneliness and bouts of alcoholism in his later years, compounded by a strained relationship with his only sibling, a brother who disapproved of his lifestyle. Deacon died of cardiovascular disease on August 8, 1984, at 62. At the time of his death, he was living alone in a modest Pasadena apartment. His estate, largely from residuals and a few cookbook sales, was valued at approximately $250,000. His funeral was sparsely attended. Buddy Joe Hooker, who portrayed Chester Anderson in Leave It to Beaver, was 15 years old when he took on the role of Wally Cleaver's fun-loving, impulsive friend. Though Chester was a minor character, Hooker made an impression with his youthful charm and easy chemistry with the cast. After the show, he pivoted to stunt work, becoming one of Hollywood's most sought-after stunt coordinators. Despite his professional success, Hooker's personal life was riddled with difficulty. He married twice, first to dancer Lynette Parrish, a volatile union that ended in a bitter custody battle over their only daughter, Haley. His second marriage to actress Jodi Lynn ended in quiet estrangement, with their twin sons, Jacob and Connor, becoming distant in adulthood. Hooker survived 2 near-fatal onset accidents, struggled with opioid dependency during the 1980s, and dealt with depression after the tragic suicide of his brother in 1991. Now 82, he lives in semi-isolation in Santa Clarita, California. His health has declined, and though he occasionally teaches master classes in stunt work, he largely avoids the spotlight. His estimated estate stands at $1.8 million, mostly tied up in property and royalties from decades of industry work. Jean Vanderpeewyle, who portrayed Mrs. Brown in Leave It to Beaver at age 38, brought a maternal, nosy charm to the neighborhood. Best known as the iconic voice of Wilma Flintstone, she became a fixture in animation history. Yet her off-screen life was tinged with heartache. Married to actor Carol O'Mara, the couple appeared happy publicly, but privately endured years of estrangement and infidelity. They had 3 children, Stephen, Leslie, and Daniel, but Jean remained emotionally distant, immersed in work and battling undiagnosed bipolar disorder. Her daughter Leslie died tragically in a car accident in 1975, a blow from which Jean never fully recovered. Despite periods of professional revival, including voice work through the 80s, she faced financial stress and health issues later in life. Jean passed away from lung cancer on April 10, 1999, at the age of 79, alone in a modest home in Dana Point. Her estate, valued at $750,000, was divided among her remaining children, though family tensions meant some of it was contested in court. Robert "Rusty" Stevens, who played Larry Mondello, was only 9 when he became Beaver's troublemaking sidekick. Larry's chubby-cheeked antics made him beloved among fans, but off-camera, Stevens struggled with fame at a young age. Pulled from the show by his mother amid rumors of disputes with producers, his acting career fizzled. He later worked quietly in insurance sales, though his heart was never in it. Married to high school sweetheart Nancy Collings for 34 years, their relationship suffered under the weight of unspoken resentments, and Rusty's frequent absences due to depression. They had 2 children, Matthew and Chloe, though both later became estranged. In 1992, Stevens suffered a nervous breakdown after the death of his father, and was briefly hospitalized. He tried to reconnect with former castmates in the early 2000s but was met with awkward indifference. Now 76, he lives in seclusion in rural Oregon, rarely appearing publicly. His modest estate is estimated at $400,000, mostly from pensions and savings, and he is reportedly in declining health, cared for by a neighbor. Who is your favorite character from Leave It to Beaver? How does it feel knowing that some of the actors are no longer with us? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this type of content, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on future uploads. Thank you for your support.